October 22nd, 2021, The Hindu Business News. Need strategic reserves of coal and gas. Kumar moves a month stock to guard against supply shocks. Government asks states to boost hydro output. Special Correspondent, New Delhi. The center has asked states to lift their hydropower output in a bid to conserve scarce coal supplies. Power Secretary Alok Kumar said on Thursday, stressing the need to build strategic reserves of imported coal and gas as was being done for petroleum products. At least in the foreseeable 10 years or so, all the countries, especially major economies, will be dependent on fossil fuel supplies for base load and for grid balancing, Mr. Kumar noted. We will never be able to insulate ourselves from these supply shocks of imported fuel, he added, referring to the major supply disruptions due to the soaring global prices of coal, gas, and oil. Let us start discussing about keeping a strategic reserve of these fuels, gas, oil, imported coal, so that economies are able to adjust and tide over these supply shocks for about a month or so. That would be a small cost vis the cost of these disruptions, he said at the South Asia Power Summit hosted by the Confederation of Indian Industry (CAA), noting that even China, UK, Europe, and Singapore had faced supply challenges. Mr. Kumar said high prices made energy security challenging. India, he pointed out, had 17,000 megawatt of power plants based on imported coal and 24,000 megawatt of gas-fired plants, which virtually go out of play when prices rise too high. Crunch time. Many countries have started keeping strategic reserves because when it comes to a crunch, every country will meet its needs first. Russia has curtailed gas supply to Europe because they want more gas to be consumed within their country, he said, making a case for South Asian countries to build up similar reserves, noting the need to diversify the energy basket to cope with the fossil fuels supply crunch. The official said, for the last 1 week, we are generating extra hydropower on off-peak days to conserve our coal. We have talked to states and said wherever you have water reservoir or higher water levels, please generate more hydropower so that we can save coal. A surge in power demand combined with a fall in imports due to higher global coal prices have led to supply disruptions and power cuts lasting up to 14 hours a day despite record supplies from state-run Coal India. Most of India's 135 coal-fired power plants have fuel stocks of less than 3 days. Coal accounts for more than 70% of India's power generation. India, the world's second largest coal importer with the world's fourth largest reserves, must also compete for supplies with China. High prices will make energy security very challenging if we don't have a well thought out strategy, Mr. Kumar said, with inputs from Reuters. Coal scarcity is still a looming risk, says Grizzle. Stock buildup is a must for summer. Special Correspondent, New Delhi. The center steps to regulate coal supplies to non-power sectors may have helped tide over the immediate threat of a major power crisis, but coal scarcity remains a looming risk for corporate India and domestic consumers, rating agency CRISIL said in a report. The threat would still looms when power demand picks up from here. Coal stocks are likely to improve to the previous level of 15-18 days inventory anytime soon. Also, availability of rigs and a pickup in power demand in March-May will be the key monitorables from here. It noted, emphasizing that a build-up in coal inventories by February 2022 is critical to avert outages in the coming summer. CRISIL noted that power demand had surged almost 20% in industrial states such as Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, and Gujarat in the first half of financial year 22, given as dependence on coal-based power has grown. Coal stocks are at most critical levels in Bihar, followed by Karnataka, Maharashtra, and Rajasthan, the rating agency said. Coal-based power generation rose 19.1%, while that from other conventional sources saw a 15.5% on year decline, it pointed out. PSU banks may get more capital in Q4 plus test of India in New Delhi. The center is likely to pump capital in public sector banks during the last quarter of the current financial year to meet the regulatory requirements. The government in Budget 2021-22 made an allocation of 20,000 crore rupees for capital infusion in the state-owned banks. The capital position of banks would be reviewed in the next quarter, and depending on the requirement, the infusion will be made to meet the regulatory needs. Going forward, sources said the rise in stressed assets would determine capital requirement. Sharp economical revival underway, says Goyal. Energy security is core to self-reliance. Special Correspondent, New Delhi. All indicators point to a clear and sharp recovery underway in the Indian economy. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal asserted on Thursday, adding that energy security is a core driver for India's drive towards self-reliance. GDP has grown a record 20.1% in the first quarter, making India is now making for the world. For the first time in the second quarter, our exports crossed $100 billion. Forex reserves have now grown to $638 billion. FDI in the first 4 months are 62% higher than the corresponding figure last year. All these point to the growing confidence towards India. Mr. Goyal said in an address to the Energy Forum hosted by Saravik, citing the sharp drop in electricity costs in recent years. He said the price of solar power had come down from 8 to 10 rupees per unit about 6-7 years ago to just 2.40 rupees. Cabinet Hawk is implementing PM Gati Shakti. Special correspondent New Delhi. A week after PM Narendra Modi unveiled the PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan for improving multimodal connectivity projects outcomes, the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs (CCEA) on Thursday approved on an institutional framework for its implementation. The PM Gati Shakti Master Plan has been approved with a three-tier monitoring system led by an empowered group of secretaries headed by the Cabinet Secretary, Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur said after the meeting of the Cabinet and the CCEA. Court asked C to call shareholders meeting. Any resolution at EGM to be on hold. Reuters, New Delhi. A court on Thursday asked C Entertainment Enterprises to call a meeting of shareholders as sought by top investor Investco, which is pushing for the removal of the TV network CEO and a board revamp. Any resolution passed at the extraordinary general meeting will be put on hold. However, until the Bombay High Court decides on the legality of Investco's request for such a meeting. C and Investco did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Investco, which owns almost 18% of C, where two funds want a shake-up at the Indian TV network over corporate governance concerns at a time when the company is planning a merger with a local unit of Japan's Sony Group. That move is set to create India's biggest broadcaster, but Investco has raised concerns about options given to C's founding family to raise their stake in the merged company to 20%. TVS Motor quarter to net jumps 29% to 234 crore rupees. Press Trust of India, New Delhi. TVS Motor Company on Thursday posted a 29.19% increase in consolidated net profit to 234.37 crore rupees for the second quarter ended September. The company had reported a net profit of 181.41 rupees crore in the July-September period of the previous fiscal. Revenue from operations rose to 6,483.42 rupees for the second quarter as compared with 5,254.36 rupees in the year earlier period. TVS Motor Company said in a regulatory filing. For the 6 months ended September 30, the company posted a consolidated net profit of 290.65 crore rupees. Corporate Ford's rise in next 2 years. Deloitte IOD. Study cites pandemic-induced pressure. Special correspondent Mumbai. Corporate fraud cases will rise in the next 2 years because of COVID-19 related pressures. 63% of independent directors ID said in a survey. This is because COVID-19 has significantly disrupted business environments, leading to change in business models, cash flow crunch, and remote working environment, which have exposed organizations and individuals to increased fraud-related vulnerabilities. The survey by Deloitte Touch Shomatsu India LLP. DTTI LLP in association with the Institute of Directors IOD revealed cybercrimes 23.90%, financial statement fraud including incorrect business valuations 20.96%, and leak of sensitive information 12.87% are the most likely fraud schemes to be experienced in the near future, according to the findings. Our survey results brought to the forefront that independent directors are ready to be part of a board that has previously experienced reported fraud, said Nikhil Bedi, partner and leader, Forensic Financial Advisory, DTTI LLP. L&T to achieve carbon neutrality by 2040. L&T said it will achieve carbon neutrality by 2040, ahead of Paris Agreement's deadline of 2050 and water neutrality by 2035. Amazon Prime membership to get 50% costlier. Press Trust of India, New Delhi. Amazon is set to increase the price of the annual membership of its Prime program in India by 50% to 1,499 rupees monthly, and a quarterly fee of Prime membership, which offers users access to Amazon Prime Video and one-day delivery of millions of items on the e-commerce platform. It is also being increased. The price of Prime memberships in India is being revised from 999 to 1,499 annual plan, 329 to 459 3-month plan, and 129 to 179 monthly plan. And Amazon spokesperson said. The company spokesperson added that company will announce the exact date of the price change at a later time. Rising prices restrain consumer mood in festive season. Reuters, New Delhi. For Delhi resident Suman Milith, rising prices are casting a long shadow over the upcoming Deepavali festival. The 33-year-old homemaker is tightening her purse strings thanks to soaring cost of fuel, transport, and many manufactured items, coupled with stagnant incomes due to the pandemic. Earlier, we used to get 4 or 5 boxes of dry fruits during festivals, but now we hardly get 1 or 2 because of the high prices, said Miss Milith. Millions of Indian households are facing similar strains on their budgets ahead of Deepavali, which this year falls in early November and marks the country's busiest shopping season for consumer goods. Many are foregoing big-ticket purchases such as television sets and jewelry, according to a half a dozen people Reuters spoke to at a consumer survey by Mumbai-based consultancy Axis My India, threatening to slow an economy recovering from the worst of COVID-19. Pump prices of petrol and diesel are up nearly 35% from a year ago, and cooking gas by more than 50%, severely hitting more than three-quarters of households, economists said. Realty sector sees demand revival. CII Special Correspondent Mumbai. Despite COVID-19 related challenges, the Indian real estate sector is seeing demand revival. A report by Confederation of Indian Industry CIIJL said the pandemic did halt much of the industry's growth. However, there are lots of green shoots emerging and transforming the future of all asset classes with multifold opportunities. Rather, the chairperson, CII Realty and Infrastructure Conclave and CEO of and country head India JLL said in the report. Commercial real estate has shown resiliency in 2021 and is likely to gain momentum in 2022. The office segment will remain the center of the work ecosystem, she said. Firms unsure of recovery from ransomware. Dell data grew tenfold in 5 years. Paul finds special correspondent Bengaluru. A majority of organizations are uncertain if they can recover from a ransomware attack, and the situation is likely more dire than earlier, given that enterprises globally are managing more than 10 times the amount of data they did 5 years ago. A Dell Technologies survey showed. Dell Technologies 2021 Global Data Protection Index GDPI findings revealed that organizations were facing several data protection challenges driven by the constant threat of ransomware and the consumption of emerging technologies such as cloud and artificial intelligence. As we move further in the data era, the amount of data being generated will continue to increase due to various factors such as continuation of remote working culture, higher adoption of emerging technologies, etc., said Ribu Bajwa, Director and GM, Data Protection Solutions, Dell Technologies, India. About 68% of IT decision makers in India were concerned that existing data protection solutions won't meet all future business challenges. That's all. Thank you.